Hello and welcome to this edition of The Current Report, our weekly roundup of what's happening in the world of digital media. I'm Damian Fowler, back in the host chair. And this week, our focus is all about sports. Live sports, often described as the last bastion for the traditional TV model, are increasingly moving more towards streaming. In the last year, we've seen Amazon break the lid on streaming sports rights by getting Thursday Night Football, plus many more rights deals. Meanwhile, American sports juggernaut ESPN is reportedly laying the groundwork to sell its linear channel directly to cord-cutting consumers via streaming. And Disney CEO Bob Iger said recently he's looking for strategic partners to hold an ownership stake in ESPN. So to break down this massive shake-up in what the future of live sports could look like, we're bringing in our reporter Travis Clark. Travis, thanks very much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So Travis, the headline of your story this week is Why Sports Are the Next Frontier in Streaming Dominance. So why is there so much room for growth?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, more and more streamers are, getting into live sports because of the popularity and the fan base. Warner Brothers Discovery is reportedly eyeing a sports tier for Max. Bob Iger has not been secretive about what he wants to do with ESPN, potentially shifting it to more of a streaming-only product. And tech companies are putting pressure on legacy media companies. They've already gotten into live sports. Amazon, Apple, and YouTube all have some sort of live sports component now.
So how are these big media companies balancing that demand for sport on linear versus demand for sport on streaming platforms?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, traditional TV revenue has been on the decline, but live sports is still some of the most watched, telecasts of any given year. But some legacy media companies like Disney see streaming as the future, while their streaming platforms are still trying to get to profitability, and sports rights are very expensive. So I think we'll continue to see this balancing act of slowly shifting to sports streaming in the hopes that maybe CTV ad spend can make up for some declines in linear TV, while sports will remain very popular on, traditional TV.
Yeah, thanks. Do you have a sense of how quickly this move to live streaming is happening?
Yeah, I spoke to George Pine for my story. He's the CEO of sports-focused investment firm Bruin Capital. He noted how this shift to sports streaming is in a transition period. It could take, years. Right now, it's seeing like a big moment, but he said a full-on embrace might not happen overnight because of what I already mentioned. Live sports is still immensely popular on linear TV networks. Sports rights are very expensive for these streaming platforms that are trying to reach profitability. And the sports leagues themselves would just go where the money is. And, like Pine said, the networks will hang on to sports as long as they can afford to.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. It's definitely a work in progress. So thanks, Travis. We'll definitely be following this story with great interest.
Yeah, thanks again for having me.
And the sports news doesn't stop there. As Europe's top football, make that soccer leagues, try to score with American fans, the US is the fastest growing market for soccer in the world, according to an analyst we spoke with. The English Premier League, Spain's La Liga, and Italy's Serie A all have seen big bumps in the value of their rights, with soccer matches flooding multiple streaming services. Meanwhile, the all-powerful Premier League is shifting towards streaming, with the league now holding 27% of its international broadcast partnerships with streaming partners, a growth of 21% since 2019. And even with streamers paying billions of dollars collectively to show these games, analysts believe they're still a bargain compared to other major American sports. To get all the details, head over to thecurrent.com to read the full story. Next, here's our weekly roundup of what's making news across the internet. X, the company formerly known as Twitter, has made its latest bombshell advertising change. Axios reports the social media company will no longer allow advertisers to promote their accounts within the platform's timeline to attract new followers. Promoted accounts generate more than $100 million a year for the company and are one of the oldest ad formats on its platform. But the company wants to prioritize multimedia formats. This news comes as the company has reportedly lost almost half of its ad revenue since Musk took over. And subscription prices for major streaming services are up nearly 25% over the last year. But as the Wall Street Journal reports, that's all part of the plan. Disney CEO Bob Iger recently told investors that the company is trying to push more users to its plan with ads. Several media companies, including Netflix, Disney, and Warner Bros. Discovery, have said that their plans with advertising make more per user than ad-free plans, as ad revenue more than makes up for the lower subscription costs. After Disney last raised prices by $3 in September, research showed that 94% of users paid up to keep their memberships ad-free, leading Iger to tell investors that prices could be raised again. And that's it for this edition of The Current Report. For more on all of these stories, go to thecurrent.com. We'll see you next time.